All right. It's a rainy night in Washington State, which is basically every day in Washington State. But here we are, our first podcast. Feels good. I've wanted to do this for a really long time with you, but I haven't actually got it going until right now. So,
After what, 9 months since COVID started?
yeah, I've had a lot of free time. And my hours of being unemployed, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. It'd be nice if like Congress and all those people could figure out a way to get things moving in the right direction as it stands right now. I told you that they're thinking about like extending like or making another stimulus package, but they keep arguing over the details. They don't know what they're gonna do. Interesting times. It's very interesting. But you've been watching Cold Case a lot. You're on what, season 6 right now? Season 6 of Cold Case. How long did it take you to get there?
I started watching the beginning of November.
Wow.
I would have been done with it, but because it's part of that Roku channel that TV has commercials.
It's got all those commercials. You hear that, Roku? You should get rid of those commercials. My girlfriend would have finished binge watching all of Cold Case by now.
I probably would have. Maybe 7 seasons? 7 weeks? No.
7 seasons, 7 weeks. So I heard this interesting thing that like women like to watch things like Law and Order, because you know my mom is a huge fan of Law and Order. She'll just like watch SVU, is that what it is?
I don't know, I've never seen it.
SUV, Law and Order SUV. No, that's a car.
That's a car?
That's a car. But no, she watches it a lot. My dad hates it. I'm not a huge fan of it. I kind of like Cold Case just because it's interesting. I like the music. But I heard this thing that like women like to watch these like murder podcasts, or no, listen to these murder podcasts and watch these like murder shows because it like prepares them in case something like that happens.
From my point of view, I don't watch that just for that reason. And no, majority of female that I know are more of the Bachelor and those Housewives series, the Kardashians. Those are majority of what I know of girls watch. There's very few that are like me that watch Cold Case or Law and Order or whatever other show there is. But I don't watch it for that reason. I've never thought of that until now that you're bringing it up. The only reason why I like watching that is because I have a psych background, and when I was in high school, I did take classes about law, and I was taking a class about forensics, and back then in high school, I was thinking of being more of a homicide detective or getting to forensics. So I think that's why it just sticks with me.
Wow. So I've dated you for a year and 9 months, and I didn't know that you wanted to be a homicide detective. It's very interesting.
Not a lot of people know that about me.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So this is a very special privilege we're getting. Some exclusive insight, right?
Only the people who I went to school with know this. Well, some would say that I did mention I want to get into forensics, but in the back of my head I was like, oh, maybe a homicide detective. My mom knows for sure. She's heard of so many jobs that I wanted to take as a kid. A librarian, a doctor, a nurse, a homicide detective, want to get into forensics, a lawyer. I did want to be a lawyer, and so I started taking those law classes, and I was like, nope.
I kind of wanted to be a lawyer at one point, just because of all the people that were trying to fuck me over.
I want to be a lawyer for immigration. That's what I wanted to be.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, so when I was in high school, I was taking college classes, and schools function that if you want to take a college level class when you're in high school, you have to sometimes go to that college. But my school had the professor come in and teach us during our high school hours. and they would bring us people. You know, lawyers would come in, police officers would come in. And I remember I also wanted to be a social worker, and it's still kind of in the back of my head currently now. We also had a social worker, and she didn't get into detail about her cases. You can't really do that, but she has described a few things, and I was like, maybe not. But it's always been in the back of my head because I have been told, and I know that I can be very cold. Like, I can detach myself emotionally when it comes to jobs. But as I work more with children, it's kind of getting harder to do that now. I get very attached to them, and I'm just like, damn.
But that just seems like it would go natural with the job. You build up that relationship.
But when it comes to social work, I think you have to have a cold heart because you're going into a home and you don't know what the situation is. So if you see something really bad happening to a child and mom or dad is coming to you with a sappy story, you can be like, oh, I completely understand. You have to be I'm sorry, these are the laws, these are the rules, this is domestic violence to the child, you're being neglectful, you're doing this and that, I'm taking that child away. And that's where it gets hard because sometimes some of them are mothers and it's hard to take a child from a family. So
that's interesting because I always for me, I had this preconception that social workers would be more caring.
Oh no, there's bitches out there.
Oh, okay. So
I've had a few. I've had a few. I mean, I wouldn't say they're bitches, but they're just, some of them can be super cruel that, okay, we're explaining to you exactly what it is, and they're like, no.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so there are some that don't care no matter what you say, even if it is the truth. They're gonna take away, they're not taking any chance.
They just want your babies.
They're not taking any chance, which is a good thing. If the child was really in danger, I've had that happen a couple of times. My family and I have dealt maybe with 4 to 5 social workers, and there have been different personalities. Some of them have been very understanding. They're like, okay, but it's just it comes with the job because no matter what, a woman is now going to be like, yes, I'm being abused. Yes, my children and I are being hit, they're not going to do it. So it's up to the social worker to be like, I have to be firm, I'm going to be cold, and I'm going to separate the family, Or they're going to be like, well, you know what, we can work with it. You guys need therapy and work with it, But yes, I've had a few of them that no matter how many times my mom lied, which is a good thing because until my mom lied, she wasn't honest. But it's where everyone gets interviewed, and as the older you get, the children get interviewed. They're like, okay, we need to know what's going on. And if someone messes up the story and they're like, something's weird here, then it's never happened where the investigation goes forward. We'll get a few visits, we'll do interviews, but it never goes to the point where my mom gets threatened, that they'll take away the kids. We never got pulled away. They were suggested to take therapy, and they did take it, and then they would close the case. But there's those families that they need more than a therapy. They need to separate the child because it's very abusive, especially when it comes to not just domestic violence, when it comes to you're hitting the child, you're starving the child, you look at the child and they look like a stick. Or you see marks around, let's see, a door frame or something. You're like, okay, why are those marks there? And you're like, what's the child going through? And then there's also topics that you don't like. There is that rape. There is that child abuse. So I understand why they have to detach their feelings and stuff like that. But I feel like sometimes it's, have a little bit of compassion, don't be too stubborn on I need to be firm and I need to do this, because it comes with every job. I mean, what was I called when I was working with kids before I left? I was too hostile with the kids.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and I mean, I know that. I was very firm, and I wasn't one to ask questions. I was more like, you did this, why? And it's just like, okay, well, I have to bring myself away from the situation. It sounds terrible. The child is bleeding or the child is crying. Pull my emotions away from me. Like, okay, tell me what happened. Okay, now you tell me what happened. All right, I'm sorry, dude. You gotta get punished. There's a consequence, and this is the order. I mean, gotta follow the rules. So there are ways to do it. You know, it's always how we talk about with our communication. There are ways to say it, and there's ways to come at each other. You know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
That's crazy. So would you say that like the portrayal of like social workers, because now that I'm thinking about it, every time I see like a social worker on TV, and maybe this isn't all the time, this is just like what I remember, usually they're portrayed like as shrews.
Well, I mean, I can't really talk. I mean, I can only speak from my experience, which is what I'm saying. Some of them are like really, really like cold, and they're by the book, which is I think by everything, like in every job, especially when it comes to my psych background. If I want to have my own business, you know, like we've been talking about, I have to go by the book. I have to. It has to be ethical, or else I'm screwed, and my licenses can get taken away, and all that stuff. So when it comes to social work and anyone working in the psychology department, we have this stigma. So I feel like no matter how they portray us in TV, we always have this stigma, and we're also known as nuts too. You know, they think we're crazy and stuff. But yeah, I feel like sometimes they can be portrayed exactly how some of them are. They can't really say everyone in that department behaves that way. It's just like those shows that sometimes have the psychiatrist or psychologist and they're sleeping with their client.
Yeah,
Not everyone in the business sleeps with their client.
I feel like everyone in the business in LA sleeps with their clients. I feel like you would get a pass doing that. I'm not saying that they all do. I'm just saying that I feel like.
I mean, you're not lying though. I've been to gyms sometimes, and the personal trainers or whatever they're called in the gyms, they're like, do you need help? And I'm just like, no, I didn't call you over though. And then I'll see them go somewhere else, and they're talking to another woman, and that woman is focusing on her glutes, and he's like staring intensely at her butt, like, yeah. And I'm just like, are all personal trainers like this? That's where when we started dating and you mentioned you were a personal trainer, I was like, oh boy.
Yeah, see, but I got numb to it though, because you just get so used to seeing people in like yoga pants. You know what I mean? That's just like.
See, but then I've also noticed that when I go work out and take your classes, you tend to focus a lot on me, or you'll stand behind me, especially when I'm working like butt exercises. And I know, and I mean, you can deny it, or you know, you don't have to be completely honest, but it's just like, I feel like on a regular day, if I wasn't in class, you just walk by and be like, yeah, cool, okay. A girl can be showing their boobs while they're like doing some squats while, you know, bending over, and you're just like, okay, cool. But then I show up and you're just kind of like, sometimes, not always, sometimes you didn't pay attention to me, but sometimes when you're just like, when you're like, oh, she's working on that butt, you kind of like stay behind, or you walk more behind, and I'm just like, see what you're doing.
It's a very important muscle. Muscles, the butt muscles, they're very important. It's very important.
From everyone or just from me?
For everybody, but especially for you. Your butt muscles are very important to me. Very. But yeah, the cold case thing though. So like you're purely into it because, well, obviously, I mean, it's a good show, right? But then you also like you have some interest in it because you kind of wanted to dabble into that stuff. Okay. See, what I heard that like women like to do that because the reason why men aren't so into it is because like most men aren't really concerned about that happening to them, I guess, which is kind of a fucked up thing because honestly, as a man, like you could get murdered or beaten or sexually assaulted, right? I mean, that can happen to, but like most men aren't really worried about that, whereas like women, I guess if you put yourself in like the state of mind as a woman, like I never thought about this, but I was like, do women ever like, do they ever feel concerned like around like a lot of guys? Like, do they ever worry because like it's like that's a man, you know what I mean? That's like a silverback gorilla, it could kill you. Whereas like when a dude's with other dudes, I'm sure that other dudes get that feeling, but it's not like, you know, they're as concerned because they're still like silverback gorillas, just maybe a smaller one. Maybe they're more like a monkey with some chimps, with some gorillas. Something like that, I don't know.
I think it depends on the personality of the woman.
Yeah.
If you're very introvert and you just, especially those people that they're in their dictionary and their vocabulary, no doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, hey, let's go smoke a blunt, and they've never smoked a blunt, and they're like, sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, it's okay to say no. So I feel like when it comes to personalities like that, when they're around men, especially with a background of sexual assault, violence, yeah, for example, I don't like being surrounded by too many older figures of men. I don't. I have trust issues. I really don't. I don't like being like, let's say, like, especially, it doesn't matter if it's family or like I go to someone's house and there's like a bunch of uncles and they're playing, and then she goes like, oh, I have to go to the bathroom. I'm just like, well, I'm just gonna go upstairs.
I would feel awkward in that situation.
Yeah, so
too.
stuff like that, like, it's understandable and stuff, and then with the background, it just makes it worse, and you're just kind of like, oh crap, I'm not really comfortable with this situation, just gonna walk away. But if it's guys my age, I feel like with my personality, I just don't mess with me. And I mean, people have told me, guys have told me I was very intimidated in high school. If I can bring that back, I'm surrounded by guys my age, I would feel okay with being surrounded by guys. But yeah, it just depends on, on the woman and their past and how their personality is. I've had friends that they go with the flow,
Yeah.
I've had that happen to me before too. I go with the flow, but there's always the no, and if you're not comfortable with that, then it makes it really uncomfortable being surrounded by men.
Well, when you said you were uncomfortable being in like a room full of a bunch of uncles, I would feel uncomfortable with that too. That would just be a weird scenario to be in, just with my buddy, and then all his uncles are there, and then he just goes to the bathroom. I'm left with all his uncles. I felt awkward when people did that with like their dads. Because some of my friends that had dads, like they were like old school, like ultra conservative, like very like, like not Bible thumping, but they're just old school, like 1950s dads. So like anytime I was like watching the TV, like I have one friend in particular, like his dad was this like surfer dude, won a bunch of like competitions and shit, like got to meet Arnold Schwarzenegger, and like you'd think he's a surfer, he might be down to earth, but no, he was like hardcore. Like I go to church every Sunday, like I don't like people like who like don't think like me kind of shit. So I was like watching TV, and I'm like, all the shows that I want to watch, I'm nervous watching because this dude is just standing over me, his arms crossed, just in the background, just like
what is
bro,
he gonna do?
Yeah, it's just like he's judging me. He's like, I'm gonna be judged no matter what I watch. If I watch Friends, he's gonna think I'm a sissy boy or something. If I watch like, Archer, like that TV show, that cartoon, he's probably gonna be like, this is like some troublemaker kid. Like
some adult
no matter
shows.
no matter what I do, I'm gonna get judged. So, but that would be a weird situation for anyone. Going back to like this whole pandemic situation, we've done okay. I think. You think we've done okay so far? I mean, we're alive. We haven't gotten COVID, or the virus. So we've been very fortunate like that. I know a few family members who got it, but they came out okay. Your side of it's a little different. You had
My family's fine. They haven't gotten COVID. It's just friends, family members, and friends that has gotten COVID.
You said that one of your friends told you that their uncles died from it or something like that. Yeah, that's pretty rough.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a weird virus. It's weird, but we kind of have the same mindset when it comes to like the shutdowns and everything. Like we think, I mean, maybe you can like talk about it a little bit, like how you feel about everything going on. I mean, we've, as far as like the precautions we took, because you've actually calmed down a bit. When we used to go to the grocery store, we'd suit up, we get like the fucking gloves on, the mask, you can't touch your face at all.
You can't touch your face.
Don't touch your phone.
It's like, okay, have you not seen the video that was on Instagram though? If you have a face mask and you're not wearing gloves, which is why I was wearing gloves, But then I was like, doesn't really matter. I'll just sanitize my hands and just disinfect my phone.
Yeah.
Because people still do it till like today. Like if you go and you watch people, they're like pushing the cart. Yeah, it's sanitized, but all they do is just spray. They're not really rubbing, you know, like get it well. So they're just spraying and they're like, oh, here, it's sanitized, disinfected, you're good. So there comes the person and they're like, I want a bag of this, I want this. But who knows how many people before that person had touched the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So they're touching. Like, oh, there goes out the phone. Oh, my keys fell. So there's germs and germs and germs and germs.
More germs.
And germs. And then they go touch the face mask. And then
they got germs on their face.
And so then they go to the car, they get in the keys and everything. And then this is the habit you have. You have the face mask on, you get in the car, you sanitize, and then you take off your mask. And I'm just like...
And the germs have been on my face mask.
I was like, that doesn't seem like common sense. It's take off my face mask and then put the hand sanitizer.
Well, that's fair. When I said like touching the face, like it's never like I like if I had an itch on my nose, I wouldn't scratch my nose. What would fuck with me was that I would sometimes sneeze in my face mask, which is basically the equivalence of like shitting your pants now because now you just got a soggy face mask on and your nose is stuffy so you can barely breathe. You're just like shit. Like that's a terrible feeling. But I understand. Like I think that I've talked to you a little bit about it. My family's like, I mean, for everybody that doesn't know, right? And of course you don't because I've never talked to you about it. But my family's pretty unconcerned, at least on my mom's side, you know. Which, you know, I respect to this in the sense that they want to live their lives and everything. And I get, you know, it's not like they're, you know, they just want to do what they want to do. But at the same time, I don't think that's the best thing to do because you know, like it seems like there's some things that are at play that we don't really know a lot about. You know?
It's just like I understand, like, okay, you want to live your life, but as the more you expose yourself and have like 30, 100 people in a room, and okay, fine, you see those people frequently.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you see those people frequently, but you don't see the people at work frequently.
Mm-hmm.
So you're coming from a party or a house gathering, and then you're like, okay, see you next weekend, or okay, see you in a month, but I gotta go to work tomorrow. So you're exposing now the people that you're going to work.
Yeah.
The next day or in 2 days. That's what happened with my friend and her dad and the job. The woman, you know, going out partying and stuff, and then she ended up getting COVID. And luckily they got her when she started seeing her symptoms, and they were like, you gotta go, because she would have infected everyone else. And dad already had COVID, and another coworker already had COVID, so they didn't want to deal with it anymore. So, which is why I say, like, if you're gonna hang out with people, it has to be people you see frequently, but don't make it more than like 10 people or 12 people. You know, keep it small. 5, I find it ridiculous.
Yeah, 5 is too small.
Politicians are not even doing 5 people, but
you know who you are.
But it's just like, it's okay. I get it. You value your freedom and your rights, but you're not valuing the other people that you're gonna see at work. That you're gonna see when you go back home if you're taking a vacation.
Yeah.
At least take 3-4 days of like, okay, I'm not gonna see anyone. All right, I'm back. 3-4 days. I haven't had anything. I know people say wait a week, wait 2 weeks,
Yeah.
but you know, sometimes 3 to 4 days you start to feel something, and then.
Well, we don't really even know. We should say that first off.
But
not,
I feel like that's how I think though. Maybe 3 to 4 days. Maybe it's just maybe I should do the whole 2 weeks. But we came from quarantine to Washington. We went back to LA. What, 3-4 days?
Yeah.
We hanged out with a couple of friends. None of us got COVID. We were fine.
We were
No
good.
symptoms. But then again, we never got tested, so we can just be spreading it and not even know it, or we had it and not even know it. But it just, I don't know. It could be the case. Babe, there are people that actually, they have it and don't even know it.
That's true.
No
I don't
symptoms.
think that we ever got
So
it.
I can't be like, oh, we're fine, and then it's just like, oh, I had it bad. No. So just like, I'm
Maybe.
being honest.
No,
See,
I appreciate
you
that.
know, I'm blunt and honest.
It's very
Unlike
blunt.
you, but
I'm honest, kind of. I'm kind of honest.
you're not blunt. I'm blunt.
I'm honest, but I'm not blunt. I can be though. I don't with
In
you.
a cruel way.
I'm scared. But like here's why I like think. I think that like there are two different types of people that don't follow the precautions. So there's like the people who want to live their lives normally, right?
Mhm.
Like they want to go to work, they want to hang out with their friends, you know. And then there are the people that just don't give a shit. They've been living that way the whole time, right? Like the influencers and all the people who want to like just go out and party, like they were already living that way prior. And people already know that that's not really the best way to live. Like, don't get me wrong, I like a good party. But like, you know, the people who like just don't give a shit. Like I heard that like they were having those like influencer parties in LA and that hundreds of people would get tested after the parties and all test positive. Like that to me is just nuts. I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, there was also that saying that some of the influencers were positive and they were the ones hosting the parties.
Oh, they're having COVID parties. They're really fucking with people. They're like, if I get COVID, then all the other influencers get COVID.
In a
Y'all
way,
are getting it.
when I was reading stuff like that, I was like, it just in my head, I was like, they're kind of having like orgy parties in a way.
Oh, orgy parties. They
Yeah.
actually are. They've busted
Yeah.
some orgy parties. You know,
It's
people are just so
nuts.
desperate to fuck now. They're just stuck in their apartments.
They're like, I haven't seen anyone in 9 months. I need to go somewhere and get laid.
Right. The only action your genitals are seeing are your hands in the last like 6 months. If you do that for too long, then orgy
Or
parties
a toy.
or a toy, then orgy parties start sounding pretty good. Start fantasizing. You're like, maybe I want
Not for everyone.
maybe I want some dicks flapping in my face. I want like stinky vagina. I'll do it all. I don't care
it's like the office party.
The
office Christmas party.
office party. Christmas party. Christmas office party. Office Christmas party. That's it. That's the title. Office Christmas.
Yeah, that's how I said it.
Yeah, that was kind of a funny movie. That was funny. It was kind of funny. I was expecting it to be even crazier though. To be honest, just
For
a
the
little bit.
unrated version, I
For
was
the
like, oh,
unrated
it's gonna be
version.
crazier than what I saw in theaters, and I was like, oh, it's the same thing.
That's what I hate about like sometimes they do like the unrated version, but it's not like if you do an unrated version, it better be hardcore. Like I'm expecting like some shit.
Like that Wiener Sausage movie where you're just like, what am I watching?
Winger sausage movie.
Yeah, the party, the sausage. The,
Sausage party.
Yeah,
The winger sausage party.
that one. I remember I took. It was. How old was she? I think she was like 13, and we like went in a group with her uncle and my brother and I. We're like, oh.
Oh, your sister?
No.
Who was 13?
My friend's niece. Remember?
Oh,
You know her.
Okay, yeah.
And then, so we went, we didn't know what we were getting ourselves into. We never saw the preview either. We just went blindfoldly. And at the LA Live, in downtown LA, we went to that big theater. And we were like, oh yeah, let's go watch it. And you know, it was raunchy. We were just like, oh man. And she was like, oh, it's okay. But you know how at the end of the movie, it's like, oh
yeah,
my
they have the
God.
giant
So,
orgy.
yeah. So when that happened at the end of the movie, I was like, oh my God. What did we just bring her in? Yeah, I felt bad. I felt embarrassed. I was like, oh snap.
I feel like that's not too far from the truth though, because my acting teacher at James Franco's acting studio, when I used to go there, I have some dirt on that place. But so like my teacher, who will remain unnamed, he really liked that movie. And he always talked about the orgy scene. And then one time after we did a showcase, he got super sloshed. Like he got drunk as fuck. And then I guess I left before, you know, any of the scandalous shit happened. But I guess he was like, he's trying to get everybody like, you know, get down kind of thing. They're all dancing and then he started like taking his clothes off and like doing like stripteases and shit. And one girl was actually into it. And I know that he slept with some students. That I know for a fact. Which is common in LA. I mean, like, people don't give a fuck.
I think anyone.
People were unsurprised that I was dating a 47-year-old mom. Whereas, like, everybody else I knew was like, oh my God, what's wrong with you? Are you having, like, a breakdown? And everybody in LA is like, I don't give a shit. I gotta pay my rent.
See, my brother ended up dating an older woman, but he
Oh, he
didn't.
did?
I didn't tell you.
No, you didn't tell me that. I don't know.
Was it the?
See, this podcast was a good idea. We're learning new things.
I don't know if it was the last job he was in or 2 jobs prior to that, but he was like talking about a girlfriend and stuff. We're like, oh, cool. I don't think it was until like the 3rd day that they had made it official that they found out each other's age, and she was shocked and he was shocked, and I was like, how the hell do you not know her age? You guys work together. He said that it was never brought up, and my brother, he's what, 23? I think he was 20 when it happened, and she was like 30s, 40s.
Oh shit.
It didn't last. I
Did
think
he
at
have
the end,
facial hair then though?
my brother has always had facial hair since like middle school.
That's how
he shocked her. And so yeah, it didn't last. I think the age difference was kind of uncomfortable. And then I believe he said that she was kind of cuckoo. She was very controlling too. And I was like, well, no duh, she has kids. Of course she's gonna be very super, controlling.
So does that happen to every woman? Like once they have kids, they just.
I don't know. Was that woman you dated controlling?
No, not
Well,
really.
you said she was very jealous.
She was kind of. Her problem was.
And then she was like stalking you and stuff. Even once we started dating, she didn't do some. Didn't you think she did something to your car?
Oh yeah, I thought that
so
she
she's
took like
very,
one of the grills
she's
off
very
of it.
yeah.
Because she waited in her car, she was looking at me really angrily, and then like I went to my car and the grill was. And this was fucked up because I was already spending too much money on that car.
Yeah,
I
you
spent
were.
too much money on that car. I was trying to fix up a '94 BMW. Terrible decision. I'll never do that again. That was so stupid. Don't. If you have an old luxury car, get rid of it. You'll make more money setting it on fire than
You would know.
restoring
Yes.
it. Trust me.
Yeah.
But her problem was she was crazy.
Yeah, because we had just started dating, and I remember I think it was like a week of us seeing each other, and you were like so like frustrated and annoyed, and I asked her like what's going on. He was like, well, my ex told me that I can't be working here, and because this is her gym, and I was like, the fuck what does she think she is? Well, if it's such a big deal that you work there, then she should find another gym to be.
She kind of did though too. Like she kind of found she was double dip. She was like doing 2 gyms at the same time.
The only reason why she was probably doing it is because you just wanted to fuck around with it, which is pathetic. Like, dude, you're in your 40s with kids, chasing a 25-year-old.
Yeah, no, I was 23.
Well,
I was 24. I was 24.
But when you guys broke up, we were together. It's been a year. We got together for your 25th.
I'm terrible at keeping track.
Yeah, you do. No, we got together at your 25th birthday party.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
so
and then like a week later, that's when you were like, well, she's being weird. And I was like, well, then she got to go.
Yeah,
because that's where you work.
She was pretty weird.
Yeah.
But obviously, there's a lot of that.
I'm not saying all moms
but there's a
are
lot.
controlling and stuff, but
They can
this,
be. All
some
moms
of them,
are controlling. They all control too much.
My mom.
They all control too
My
much.
mom.
Moms,
She still tries to control when I'm living here. I'm like, Mom, I
Moms.
can't.
Moms, loosen up your control. Loosen it.
Hey, we're their babies. That's what my mom says.
Oh.
But you're my baby because I'm the oldest. Does your mom tell you that?
She calls me weird names. She's like Benjamin. She's like, "What's up, dude?" She got
I feel
all
like she
kinds
does.
of
Yeah,
names.
she does that to all your siblings. Though. Like with your sister, she'll call her the Spanish version of her name.
What I hate
And your
is when-
sister goes, what?
what I hate is when she's like, "What's up, little man?" I'm like,
I don't think I ever heard her call you that. I have, like, when
hate
you
that.
guys talk on the phone, I always hear the dude. You know? Yeah.
moms are weird, but moms. Here's the thing about moms. We all know that y'all partied, so stop trying to act like you're angels.
Oh, my mom has told me. I mean,
Party.
my mom has told me.
I'm gonna be straight up honest about
My
with
mom,
my
I
kid.
know so much dirt about my mom that when she grills me for my stuff, I'm like, Mom, may I remind you that you did this, and this? And she was like, well, this is why I'm strict with you. And I was like, well, I'm not you. Like, I came from you, but I'm not you.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do the same thing you did.
Well, I loved what my parents said, especially my mom. My mom would say, "I don't want you to make the same mistakes I did. I want you to make new mistakes." And then she would be like, "I want you to make new mistakes that your father and I have not done. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm
Well,
like,
what is left?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like,
What is left?
You've done all the mistakes, except, you know, had like a dead body in your trunk or something.
Murder, probably.
Yeah, is that what she's saying? She's saying, I want you to murder somebody.
How about jail? Was that a new mistake, or have they been?
No, they actually, I think my dad got arrested for peeing.
Damn.
He got arrested for peeing
You didn't
behind a bar.
fall that far from the tree.
I didn't, because I got arrested for peeing in a trail while I was high on mushrooms. That was really trippy. That was a weird experience. But yeah, my mom got arrested, but she didn't really do anything wrong. She got arrested because she was hanging out with some dumbasses that stole a flag off her high school, and then the cops arrested them, and she just happened to be with them. But my mom was also a bit rebellious too. I feel like if you have good parents, your parents have a lot of life experience. The parents you need to worry about are the parents that don't give a shit. The parents that are just like, oh, he's doing that, I don't fucking care. Oh, he wants to do that, or she's gonna do that, I don't fucking care. I'm too busy. I gotta pay bills. Those kind of parents. I feel like those parents suck. But I was always kind of envious of kids that had those parents, because as a kid you see that and you're like, oh man, I wish my parents didn't love me, because then I could do anything I want. No, you want love from your parents. It's very important that your parents love you.
I think in my 26 years of life, I've only met...
You're still a kid. 26 years.
I was in 4th grade when this girl that I used to hang out with at school, my mom claims a story which I don't remember, and I do remember my 4th and 5th grade experiences, but the girl I would hang out with a lot, and we would be like, we gotta go to the restroom. We're going to the restroom, and then we'd just go fuck around, you know? And then we'd come back, and he wouldn't tell us anything, but then he would tell my mom, be like, you know, she goes to the bathroom a lot for a really long time. And then I stopped because she started messing with another girls in the bathroom, which is a scarier bathroom, Bloody Mary, and I was like, I'm out. I don't play Bloody Mary, the Ouija board, no thanks. But before we stopped being friends, she got her belly pierced. In 4th grade, she got her belly pierced.
Wow, that's radical.
And then my mom claims that I came home saying I wanted piercings, and I was like, no, I wanted piercings when I was like 20. She was like, no, you came to me, and I was like, all right, whatever you say.
Maybe they have better memory because you're still like kind of a kid, right?
Probably. Maybe I remember it differently. I don't know. But that's that was the first time I met a parent that didn't give a shit. She's like, yeah, I'm going to get my 4th grade child a belly piercing.
Yeah, that was weird.
I also met this girl in high school. She, threw a party and they were drinking, and I believe she was it was the year that we were turning 18, or she was 19. I don't know if she's a year older. But yeah, parents were gone. I don't think her parents were there. And yeah, it was a party, and...
Y'all had an orgy?
No. No, what? I didn't know what that was until you told me.
And you didn't know what an orgy was until I told you what an orgy was?
Yes, we were watching The Christmas Babe. I told you I'm that innocent. There's a lot of things I didn't fully know until like in my 20s. You told me we watched the Office Christmas party, and you were like, you don't want to know. I was like, well, I've been wondering all my life. When I started hearing the word, I'm like, can you tell me? And you told me, and I was like, oh, I pictured something else.
My sister didn't know what a cuck was, so I didn't explain what it was because that's not a conversation.
Well, she's still a baby though.
She's 18. That's apparently when you're 18, that's old enough to kill someone in the army. So I don't know. Maybe you are old enough to know what a cuck is.
My sister's 17.
Is she? I hope. Don't watch this, Mary. You should stop. You should have stopped 5 minutes before we got here. Anyway, yeah, life and parents and all that stuff. It's a big, interesting journey, isn't it?
I feel like there's still a lot that I don't know about my mom, but she's been very, very open about some of the experiences, like almost near-death experiences, and I'm always like, oh my god, I would have never existed.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of stuff about my parents I still don't know.
Yeah,
but I'm kind of out of the loop on family stuff.
You are. I'm more in the loop with my mom's. Like, she would text me like maybe like every week or something, she'd be like with family gossip, or like I'll call her up and she'll look like she's stressed out. I'm like, what's wrong? And then she'll like rant out. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I didn't know that. Well, now I do. Yeah, she keeps me in the loop.
I like how when you said stressed out, you made this.
She's like stressed out.
And the first thing I thought of was boobs.
Boobs.
Stressed out boobs. I don't know how that works, but
I don't know either.
like stressed out. Is that what you do when you're stressed out? You grab your boobs, just give it a little squeeze. I'm still sexy. I'm good.
No, it doesn't work that way. Do you grab your penis when you're stressed out?
No, but some dudes do that just out of, like, I had a friend once. It's not that he was perverted. It was just like some guys just can't stop touching themselves. It's weird.
Do you know little boys do that though?
They
Well, I
do.
mean, even
Little
girls,
boys do
they,
that.
they tend to.
Yeah.
That's why.
There was a little girl that did that in, when I was a Christian camp volunteer. So
I like how you said that. Okay.
Christian camp volunteer. But yeah, no, the little kids would do that. They do that. They put their hands down their pants.
Well, you're not supposed to scold them. Like if they're little, let's say like 3, 4 years old, or 2 years old, that's when you kind of see it the most. They'll tend to, or I nanny, and she sometimes like, look, and I'm just like, yeah, you have a vagina. I do too. But it's just, sometimes they're just curious. Sometimes they're just like, especially boys, they can feel it and they're like, oh, what's this? But it's just like, you can't scold them. It's more of a, hey, sweetie, we do that in private time, not in public.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do it in public. You have to let them know what's acceptable in society, because imagine you're a 10-year-old boy and you're just there, and it's like you're gonna get the looks, and maybe a cop, or if by a strange reason a social worker is passing by, they're gonna be very concerned.
Yeah.
What are you doing? I mean, a full-grown man in a car touching himself, you're gonna get arrested.
Yeah, you get arrested for that pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, kids are filthy though. They're weird. Kids are just gross. Like, they're fine with a lot of things that like you just grow out. Like when I was a kid, I was fine just like jumping in like a pile of mud and like getting naked.
I've
Like
never
I was
done
fine
that,
with
but
that.
okay.
Remember? I
Yeah,
told
you
you
told
about
me,
naked
but I've never
monkeys?
done that. Yeah.
Naked monkeys.
You got caught jumping on the bed.
I played this game called Naked Monkeys because there was this book that I read that was called Monkeys Jumping on the Bed. So it was not called that, but it was about monkeys jumping on a bed.
5 little monkeys.
5 little monkeys jumping on a bed. One fell off and bonked.
Of
Now
its head.
I remember it now, but here's the thing: they were all naked. So I was like, to play this game, you gotta be naked.
Technically, monkeys don't wear clothes.
So they're naked. So I was like, but that I wasn't even thinking about that. Like,
How old were you then?
I was like 5, like, but kids don't think that way. Like, you don't think. You're just like, you just impulsively do things, which I blame my mom, because my mom is impulsive. Sorry, Mom, but whatever.
No, because you think for yourself. You have never been taught, or no, you never heard, they're not naked. It's just fur. That's how they are. So you're going to think of it one way. Little kids are very egocentric.
Yeah.
And it's all about me. And then you just see things a specific way. That's why sometimes when an adult figure comes and explains it to you, that's why sometimes they're like, no, it's like this. And you're like, no, not really. It's like this.
See, kids, like, it's weird. I feel like now that, like, society's so different, because I feel like I was one of the last kids, or one of the last generations of kids that actually, like, was allowed to go outside without parental supervision and ride bikes and go adventuring and exploring. And now it's like, society's so protective of that. Like, when I was a kid, I could have been 9 years old and I could ride my bike, a mile with my friends to the local convenience store and then come back. And, of course, you see some weird shit. Like, you see like a bum or something. My convenience store was weird because there was like some sort of like, there was a convenience store, the little grocery whatever, and then there was like a heroin recovery center like right next to it. So like there'd be weird fuckers over there. But I never really encountered anything dangerous. The worst thing that happened to me was I was sledding down this this big long street that was like really slanted, and I fell off of my sled and a rock hit my side, and I started saying "damn," and then this dude was like, "I'll help you get home." It was some kind neighbor dude, but that was the worst thing that ever happened to me unsupervised. If there was no other parents and shit like that around. But now I feel like it's like you can't do that anymore. Like if you're a kid, like if you're 9, you can't just like get on your bike and go ride off with your friends. At least not from what I see. Like I was in LA, I never saw any of that. Kids
no, I always was
video
supervised. If we want to go ride our bikes, it would have to be an adult figure that would have to go with us. And it's if we're alone, just like us kids, it has to be around the neighborhood, which is what I see a lot here in Washington. Like I don't see them wander around. Like I've seen that in 2 cities here, and they'll just go because sometimes it's like you're driving trees, and you see a little neighborhood. They'll be within that neighborhood, but I don't see them like leave out or be like, oh, we're gonna ride our bikes to the store, which is like
a mile away.
Yeah. Like they don't do that. Like because I think parents know, and there's been crazy stories out there too. So I think they're more cautious now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they'll be like, no, I just rather have you. I mean, they still even pose a threat, staying within the neighborhood and just running around from house to house, and being on the street and stuff. Sometimes neighbors surprise you, or there's a car, drunk driver, stuff like that. But
it kind of shows like a people's lack in trusting humanity, really, because, and here's the thing I understand. If you're in a city, right, the likelihood that it's going to be more dangerous makes sense. But why? Because there's just more people. If you're in a good neighborhood, like I grew up in a pretty decent neighborhood, then the likelihood of you, and there's less people, of course, then the likelihood of something bad happening to you is like dramatically decreased. That's kind of a scary thing about cities, though, when you think about it, because the only reason why kids seem more supervised is because there's more people. You ever thought about it like that?
No.
Isn't that kind of fucked up? The more people there are, the worse off you are. It's kind of what that's saying, like the less protected you are. That's kind of fucked up.
It does make sense though.
And,
I mean, are you gonna go for someone who's fully protected, or are you gonna go with someone who is less protected?
Yeah. Well, that's dark. That's a dark conversation. But
you took it there.
But it is an interesting thing, That's the thing I like about, having really long conversations with people, is because sometimes you'll like stumble onto something that you don't really think about. Like I never really thought about it like that. I just always thought that like people in LA or like people in these big cities were just stuck up, like ultra, like protective, fucking weird people that never let the kids do anything besides play video games and post dance videos on TikTok. That shit's just, you can hear the rain right now. It's like crazy.
It's a good thing we decided to not go.
Go on a walk go see the Christmas lights. That would suck. So, another thing I was really interested to talk to you about too was kind of getting your whole perspective on like everything that's going on right now as far as the coronavirus is concerned in like LA. So we're in Washington State, but LA, we were in LA for a while. You grew up in LA. I was in LA for about 4 years, and we left because things got really bad there, and there was a lot of other life things that came up. But I just kind of want to get your perspective. Like, I'd like to pick your brain a little bit about how you feel. Like, do you feel like LA is safe? Do you think that they handled it well? Because one thing that's happening now is even with the lockdown, cases are just exploding. And then you have places, that of course are less populated, and they have high cases too, but nothing like California. Like they don't have lockdowns, and yet, like their coronavirus cases are less than places like LA where it's just exploding. It's out of control. I think I read yesterday that they had 0 ICU beds available. 0.
Yeah, I friends have been texting me that hospitals are getting flooded. I mean, I did tell you earlier today that not COVID centers, but places that are doing the the test. They're getting flooded with people, which it makes a big line for them to wait.
Yeah, it's crazy. So how do you feel about that? Like, what are your thoughts about the lockdowns? And like, do you think that things are, do you think that this has been handled right? I think we've talked about this where like we don't. It's a very mixed bag. So what do you think? Like, do you think that what they did in LA? Do you think it's been handled very well, or?
Well, what I know, LA is the only one that's in pretty much in hell at the moment.
It is hell.
There's other places that their lockdown is already done. Other places have fully functioned. I think somewhere in Australia is fully functional back now. So it's been crazy. I don't think they did things correctly to handle it. Or else we wouldn't have come up to Washington twice.
Yeah.
Because I was suffocating there. I felt more safe here. Like, we went on hikes here. We went on walks. Take walks around the neighborhood. Something that we wouldn't do in LA. Like, when we would go back to LA, we would just lock ourselves in and just go out for stores. It wasn't until the second time we were up here in the summer, we went down there, and then we had welcomed our friend and her boyfriend in our group. And that was the only people in her family that we were seeing, and my family. But that was about it. We really weren't really doing much. Even big, when we went to the beach, I didn't expect it to be that long at the beach, and I was getting, I lashed out on you a lot that day, and I realized that it was just my anxiety.
There's a lot of people there that day.
There was a lot of people, even though we were not sitting near them. There's, it looked like maybe like a 5 foot distance, but it's just which is why I wasn't in the water anymore, because it's like we got kids with their boards getting near us, and then just people, and I'm just like, I don't feel comfortable anymore. And then we got those nasty sunburns. Well, you got that nasty sunburn.
I look like a lobster.
And then so it's just stuff like that made me realize LA is you guys are just a joke. Like even when we were walking up here in Washington, we barely saw people. Mm-hmm. Traffic was, you grew up here, you were like, wow, it's so empty. Compared to now we're hitting traffic.
Yeah, there's a little bit more traffic.
But it's we were up here February, and then we're up here again end of May, and there was no traffic. Compared to LA, February, everything started to close down. And I think May we started to hit traffic.
Yeah, by May it was getting
so it was just condensed. What's going on? We're not going up. We're not really going backwards, but we're just staying there, and it's just
Well, I'm sure you don't like the governor anymore, especially considering that, him with that whole restaurant scandal. I think he should resign. Because if you can't even follow your own advice, for people that don't know, the governor of California imposed strict lockdowns and said that people can't dine indoors, and if they're outdoor dining, and now outdoor dining is completely shut down, but back when it was outdoor dining, he said you had to wear a mask. Well, this motherfucker was caught on camera with 12 other people eating food in a real fancy restaurant wearing no mask. So he's a big fucking hypocrite. I think he should resign. What do you think?
That would get a lot of people in politics to resign, 'cause a few of them have been caught.
Yeah.
They had a face mask.
What is
it's
up
just
with
it's
them?
nuts. It's just I think of it as think of yourself as if you were the president. You have the power, and people are listening to you. Mm-hmm. You want them to listen to you. Well, guess what, buddy? Whatever rule you apply applies to you and your family. You're not an exception. You're really not, because you're the example that people follow. If you can't set a good example, then when you come back and be like, hey, sorry, I'm genuinely sorry, wink, wink. And then I'm like, well, you know what? You guys are fucking up again. I'm going to close you guys up. Are people going to listen? No.
They don't care. What's also funny is that, Eric Garcetti, he was trying to he was trying to buddy up. He was trying to cozy up with the Black Lives Matter group, and now they've been protesting outside his house for the last 22 days, saying that he's the worst mayor that LA has ever had because of how he's handled the coronavirus.
Yeah, because he's like, he's literally like, you guys need to wear a face mask. You guys need to always wear a face mask stepping out of your home. And then he goes, well, you guys are not taking this seriously, so there's going to be a curfew, okay? Oh, you guys are not going to follow curfew? Or here are the cops. It's just like, dude, like, what is this, prison? Like,
And you can't even send cops to stop people from like setting Santa Monica Boulevard on fire. Dude, it's really crazy, you know. None of that shit makes any sense. Like, it's all political. It's all it is. It's just trying to like gain the right, you know, people and get them on your side. It's about getting the loudest voice on your side. And the problem with that is that I don't think most Americans feel that way. Like, I don't feel that most Americans are that loud. I feel like that's a small fraction of Americans who are so disenfranchised and so like radical thinking, and yet they're the ones that get the most attention, so people just gravitate towards them. But most of the country doesn't even feel that way. Like, most of the country right now is just scared and confused and want things to get back to normal.
they don't know what to do.
They don't know
I
what to
felt
do.
that way when I was down there, because it's like, wear a face mask, do this, do that, but they're not even doing it. And then the president wasn't even doing it. And I was just like, all right, so what exactly are we supposed to do? Which is why a lot of my anxiety came in when COVID first hit. There was a big anxiety that I was dealing with, and like, I don't know if there were anxiety attacks or there were panic attacks, but I had 2 this year, and then I had 2 last year. The 2 of them, no, I had 3 this year, because remember I got one at Six Flags. Yeah, I'm starting to get, it's not fear of heights, it's fear of falling. But no, yeah, with COVID I had about 2, the day at the beach in LA, and then being here up in Washington. And then I think it's also not helpful having people like back home text me like, oh my god, this is happening, look at this, and I'm up here and I'm just like, my family.
Yeah.
So that also like hurts. I'm just like, oh my god, my family. But not knowing that, you know, they're closing doors, they're not, you know, not even trustful friends. Well, my mom, not even trustful friends. So I'm just, as long as she's safe and she feels okay. I mean, she's always kind of now just staying home. She only goes out for groceries, and she's okay with it because she has hobbies she keeps herself busy with. So as long as her and my sister are okay, I'm okay. So it takes off a little anxiety away from me. But yeah, I dealt with a lot of it in the beginning because I had no idea what was going on. It was like on the left side you were hearing something, on the right side you were seeing something, but then you were seeing something completely opposite from what both sides you're hearing. And at the end of the day, it's just like, what am I supposed to do? Because when we came back the first time back to LA, being here in Washington, I completely closed doors. Like we weren't even seeing people. Even the roommate bringing in people gave me anxiety, and I was like always cleaning, always disinfecting, because I never knew, because they weren't wearing masks in the beginning of what it looked like. And then he had random people come in. I'm like, I've never seen you in my fucking life. Who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you must be a new friend. What are you doing, you know?
Yeah.
And to come back to LA just to see that the apartment has been trashed, it's just like, I don't want to touch that. I don't, you know. It's also harder when you're sharing in a place with someone else who doesn't think the same way as you do and they don't clean.
Roommates are tough.
Yeah, so it was just like,
Thankfully, we have no roommates. We're our own roommates.
Yep. Yeah. It's just you and I against the world.
That's the problem. LA is just so goddamn expensive too. Like, it's like if you want to buy a house, be prepared to just like pay a mortgage the rest of your life.
You have to make a deal with the devil. You have to sign your soul, and then you buy the house.
All right, where's your seduction, Satan? Come on, I've been waiting for you. You're trying to seduce me with your cunning deals. Where you at? I want a house.
It's just hard. It's a confusing time with people, and I know a lot of people bring up like polio and like, oh, like 20 something years ago, like 50 years ago, this came out, they were fine. It's just, yeah, but I'd rather prevent. You know, I haven't gotten sick. I mean, I was I was with the dry throat and stuff, but it's just weather. It comes with the weather. I've never been exposed to so much rain in my life.
Oh yeah, it rains in Washington a lot.
And so much coldness, and it's just like I have to suck it up because I nanny, so I don't want to be 8-9 hour shifts stuck at home with two girls. Like they're little, they want to run around. It's like okay, let's go for a walk. I'm gonna suck it up. I'm gonna layer up, you know. So I mean, it's nice, but it's just like I don't want to get sick. It's already enough that every day I have to take a tea for the throat and take a cough drop so I'm not coughing, because the moment you cough at a store, people turn and you're like, I'm fine. Or if you're choking and people turn thinking you have COVID, you know? So it's like, I don't want to get sick because I know my financial status and I love working. I hate being sick. No one likes being sick. No one likes being isolated in the room for 2 weeks. No one likes that. So don't come at me with your rights and your freedom. I don't care. I don't want to be sick. I don't want to be isolated. I'm not living in fear. If I lived in fear, because a lot of people say that, like, oh, don't live in fear. I'm like, well, I'm not living in fear. And I'm still doing my rights because we see your family, which is the only people that we welcome to our group. Well, I welcome, you're fine with it, but I welcome to my bubble. And I'm okay with seeing them, you know, because I know that they're being careful and stuff. And so it's like, I'm doing that. If I lived in fear, I would completely shut the door and be like, oh, not even your siblings can come over. No, we're not going out. I'm not even going to the
I feel
store,
like a lot of
you
people
know?
are past that too.
I mean, who knows? I mean, I was talking to this girl. She got her groceries like dropped at the door. She wasn't really going out much. I don't know if it has changed. We kind of haven't really talked, but she was still there around the summer too. She was kind of like not going out.
It's hard to do that though. You better have like a good financial net, like safety net. Otherwise, you're fucked. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. See, like maybe going to the store. Yeah, if you have the option of going and just picking it up or someone dropping it up, cool.
Yeah,
take it if you feel more comfortable. But I'm at that stage now where I'm comfortable and I know what I'm getting. You make a list, boom, 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 we got it. All right, let's buy it and we're out. You know, so it kind of makes in the back of my head like it's gonna be a quick trip. We're gonna go in there, sanitizer in my car. You know, we're always careful, and it's just like it keeps. Those are the things that keep me at ease now. You know, like back then it was kind of a bit extreme and stuff. But you know, I still have that habit though of like if I come home from work, don't touch me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I still have that habit. Please let me change, because I have girls drooling all over me, or you know, like I'm changing diapers, you know, and all that. So it's just like, don't come near me. Let me change, and then you can hug me and kiss me and all that. But it's just like, it's also stuff that I seen from the family that I was nannying before. Mom was a doctor, and that's the same routine she had with her and her family. You know, so it's kind of like, well, I feel more comfortable doing that. And then a lot of people have come at me saying, well, my doctor said this, and then they're like, well, I have a background in, you know, in healthcare and everything. And I'm like, well, but that's how you feel, and I respect it, but, you know, I'm just gonna go with what I hear and what makes me feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Because you can't force someone, and you can't come at someone who already has their comfort level and are okay with doing certain things, and someone to come at you and be like guilt tripping you and stuff like that, or saying, but you have your right, you need to stop being scared, you need to go out. I'm like, okay, well, first of all, no, and respect where I'm coming from, or else there's a door.
And that's what it's all about, being an American citizen, being able to say no and have your own rights.
Because I do have my right. That's my right. I have my right to say no. I have my right to go along with what you're doing, and I have my right to not go along with what you're doing.
Absolutely.
See, I'm still doing my rights. We're still doing our rights.
Expressing what you want.
Yeah. I mean, they're welcome to express how they want to do it, but I feel like at the end of the day, some people, when they're saying their opinion, it's not really saying their opinion. And
they're just saying what other people tell them to say.
No, they're doing you need to do what I am saying and how I am feeling about this. And it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Well, there's
I
a
have
lot
my
of
mind
people
too.
like that now. It's like you have that mindset of you're either with me or against me kind of mindset. That's the problem with politics right now. It's so polarized. Like
Yeah.
you either gotta be one side or the other. I'm sorry, life is not black and white, and politics are not red and blue. It's a lot deeper than that. It's just so weird. It's
There's
like
a purple, there's a yellow, there's a green in there.
well, it's like they treat politics like it's a sports team now. You know, like people will cry and people will like get rowdy and fucking like. It's like, bro, it's not the fucking Super Bowl. It's how the country is fucking run. You know, like we should probably have a little bit more intelligence than just treating it like it's a fucking like, you know, like fucking party. You know, like what are those things that they do? I'm at a loss for words, but there's like that thing. There's that party that the thing that people have like outside the football stadiums. It's called a fucking. God, people who watch football are gonna grill the shit out of me for this.
Oh, I don't watch football, so I don't watch
There's a term for it. There's a term for people who have parties outside football stadiums. It's fuck. I can't believe it's not coming to me right now. Anyway.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
But you understand what I'm talking about. Like people treat things like it's fucking like it's a sports team. You're either Team Trump or you're Team Biden. Or your Team Democrat.
And it's like for every topic. Like I had a girl talk to me about how her close friend, talking about the vaccine, and one is opposed and one is, you know,
is for it.
Yes, for it. And so she was like, oh, you know, like I'm gonna take the vaccine, and then this anti-vaccine person who is her close friend, instead of having a proper communication and being like, well, I'm not gonna take it because I feel this way and I grew up this way, became more of a, well, you shouldn't because of this, that's why I'm not taking it. And it's like,
yeah, but
you're forcing your opinion on her and she already told you where she's at. Like, you can't really do that.
A lot of people do that. They project what they want onto other people, and I think that just comes from like,
that's how arguments start. That's how riots start.
I think it comes from a place of insecurity. It's like if you feel comfortable with how you feel, then you shouldn't have the need to impose it on other people. Like if you want to convince someone of something, there's ways to do that. Like you can't force someone. It's the same thing with like people calling people racist now. You know what I mean? Like some people are just like, if they don't like what you have to say, then you're racist or you're ignorant.
If they don't want to date you, they call you racist.
Yeah, I'm like, that's fucked up. Like how dare you? Like that's where you go. Like you are willing to ruin.
Some people use the word wrongly.
Yeah.
And it's any word. It's
literally
any word. I mean, I probably have used a couple of words wrongly. You have said things that come out wrongly and I would correct and you're like, oh wait, hold on, that did sound wrong. And so it's just like, it happens to everyone and it's very common. It's just, it's used wrongly.
But I'm not committed to the things that I think, you know.
You're not, how did you tell me last time? You're not married to the idea.
Yeah, I'm not married to those ideas. Like I formulate.
It always changes.
They change. I always like my ideas and my belief system. It always changes with like what I'm told and what I see and what I experience, and that's part of being a human.
That's what people don't realize. I mean, our bodies are always changing. I think I was told every 7 years our body tends to do different things and stuff. I mean, I was never lactose intolerant until I was like 17, 18, 16. So it's just like, things always change. It doesn't change the same. Let's say if a president were to run the same way all 4 years and they win a second term and they were to do the same thing all the next 4 years,
it wouldn't work.
It wouldn't work. They always have to change techniques and, you know, and stuff like that. So for someone to be married with the idea and stick with it, okay, cool, but let me tell you, in the long run, it'll eventually change. Like people who don't believe in marriage, people who don't believe in abortion or divorce, and someone comes up nicely and we're like, oh, well, let me bring you a couple of points, and then boom, they're like, well, you know what, you're right.
Yeah, someone enlightens their mind or something.
I didn't know that, you know? So it's like, people need to...
But people shouldn't also, like, there's so much, like, segregation, like, it's like...
Still, yeah.
Like, if you want to formulate intelligent opinions and have intelligent conversations, you need to talk with people that don't necessarily agree with what you agree with, because if you close that door off, if you just accept that everyone who doesn't think the way that you do is stupid, well, you're stupid, because what the fuck else are you going to learn the rest of your life? You're just going to be married to these ideas, and they're going to age, and you're going to age, and, you know, shit's going to be different, you know, 10, 15 years from wherever you are. And, like, you know, you're just going to be that outdated person with outdated thinking, you know? So I've always been open-minded. I've always been open-minded. Even when I went to private school, I was open-minded. It drove my deacon crazy and drove other people crazy. But I didn't want to be locked into, like, other people's belief systems. I wanted to be locked into my own. I didn't want to blindly walk into things, you know? Like, that's dangerous. Like, to blindly walk into something just because the people you are around support or believe in something, and you don't really have a very well-formed opinion or well-formed, you know, understanding of it, then you're walking into something fucking blind. You're like that person that, like, jumps off a cliff because everyone else does it.
It's okay to have not a well-informed opinion. That's where conversation comes in, which is why you enlightened me when we were back in LA, and we were talking about politics, and I told you, like, oh, I don't like to get into it. And you were like, why? Like, how are you going to share your knowledge, and how are you going to learn, and, like, how are you going to voice your opinion? And I was like, oh, crap. I was like, you're right. Because when 4 years ago, when Trump was first time running, you know, I didn't really talk about politics. I think this is actually the first year that I've talked about politics with so many people. I've talked about it with you so many times. I've talked about it with your mom, your dad, with your family. I talked about it with my family, which is kind of a first. We don't really, like, talk stuff like that. And I talked about it with a couple of friends, and luckily I haven't had anyone, like, shut me down or not try to understand. They're more like, they either learn something from me or they tell me something that enlightens me, and I'm like, I understand where you're coming from. You know, I mean, your family is total different view from me, but your mom and I talked about when the riots were, like, huge, and we're watching TV, and your mom shared her experience, and then she asked me, like, have I ever been, like, you know, what's the word?
Racially profiled.
Racially profiled and stuff, and, like, I told her, well, I can't say from my experiences, but I can share that I witnessed from friends, and she learned a lot. I mean, we both learned from each other, and we both got a different perspective from coming from different backgrounds and different history, because I haven't lived what she has, and she has not lived what I have, because first of all, we're both different ethnicities. We both weren't raised in the same city. We're from different, she's from Kansas, I'm from LA, and that's completely opposite. So it's just like, it's that stigma too, that someone from a different belief cannot talk to another person with a different belief.
Yeah, you should be able to talk to anyone.
If
they're
just
not
depends.
Fucking crazy, as long as they're not witches, like they have up here. There are witches up here. People who believe they're witches. There's no such thing. I'd still talk to them though. But anyway, maybe they didn't lie to me.
Well, I have a background of witchery.
Yeah.
But black magic though, it ain't good witches. There's black magic, which I think one of your families.
One of my ancestors was burned at the stake, the Salem witch trial. So probably got that woman hovering around.
But then remember, I did read a book that says that they were not witches, is because the Catholics saw them as witches, because women were healers. They were they were delivering babies. They were not doing what society was telling women to do, which is pretty much shut up and be a wife. And well, that's what I read from a book. But
that's what my brother was telling me.
If witches are real, I mean, probably some of them healers do consider themselves to be witches.
Yeah. Because
they're healers. They work with plants. They work with earth, and I think that's their definition of I'm a witch.
So they're hippies.
And then other people call them hippies. And then there's those people who smoke a lot and they do crystals and stuff like that, and they consider themselves witches. Some of them,
but they're stoners.
Not all. And then there's people who call them stoners.
They're stoners.
There's a word for everything, but no. Yeah, my background does not come like that. My background was literally like they were messing with black magic and that whole star circle and candles and yeah, that. If it's true, if what my mom, you know, and the family says, if it's true, I don't know. It's what's been passed by with word of mouth, but my grandma, she did say she witnessed it and it's word by mouth, and I don't know. It's a
We
really
just gotta wait
interesting.
until a ghost shows up in the middle of the night. Just gotta wait until we see
See,
one.
but it's very common with like Mexico, Guatemala, El Salvador. You know, like if I were to talk to someone else, like a Mexican or someone from Guatemala, and be like, "Oh, you know, my mom has told me this story," and she's like, "Oh, you know what? I
Same
have
thing
something
happened to me.
similar," or
Yeah.
"I heard about this," or "Did you know about this legend?" And I'm just like, "There's so many legends." No, yeah, it's I don't know. It's very interesting.
Yeah, I don't feel like white people have that as much. It's a little bit more boring. Some of them do. Irish people are fucking crazy. I know this because I'm Irish myself, so. But you know, I think this has been a really good conversation. We covered a lot of stuff. We talked about a lot of interesting things. And I think it's about time to wrap this thing up. What do you think?
All right.
All right. Nice
All right.
job. First podcast.
That was terrible. High five. How was my hand higher than?
Now my hand was boom. There we go.
There you go.
First podcast. Well done.
Finally, after like how many times? I think your mom brought it up, and then I brought it up, and then
My dad.
your dad brought it up, and then you keep bringing it up, and it never happens.
And now it's officially done.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it was wonderful doing this. We're gonna do it again here in the future.
I'll see you next time.
I'll see you next time as well. Nice to meet you. And wonderful.